So, the illusion of the shy musician, and here I am. Like I say, my main thing has been making music in real time, imagining it, creating it, performing it, all in one go. Basically missing out all the bits I don't like, which is practicing and kind of doing the same thing over and over again, essentially. So I've been really lucky. I've been doing this for quite a few years now, and some of the things that it's managed to bring into my life through music has been, I've managed to actually release my music and have people out there in the world who perhaps every now and again on a boring Sunday afternoon think, what was that one with the circles on it? I'll go and put that on. I've managed to take part in some great projects. The music is a wonderful, wonderful way to get involved in things, and I've done everything from improvising with improvisational dancers to being invited to do a TED Talk. So one of the other things it's done for me is it's allowed me to meet and sometimes play with some of my biggest heroes, some of the people who I love and I grew up listening to and have listened to ever since. R.M. Hubert, or Hubby there, guys that are just normal guys when you get to know them, and completely demystify the idea of the musician as someone that's in a different planet, unobtainable. And finally, it's let me meet people. It's let me meet all of you for a start, and it's let me meet nearly everyone in my life that I know. It's completely shaped the way that I live, and it's shaped who I am as a person. It's put me in touch with people that I'd never meet, and it's allowed me to enjoy experiences I'd never normally have. It's even managed to find me a partner, so that's got to be a good thing. So far so good on that one. Somehow she decided to sign up to the idea of never having a spare room and an electricity bill that some small countries may sort of balk at. But it hasn't always been that way. I was a very, very shy child, and I mean a very, very shy child. Imagine how shy you were as a child meeting someone for the first time and make me behind you going, no, I'd rather not. I was a really shy child. There was 8 years between me and my younger sister. I grew up effectively without younger people around me, and basically that person there with surrounded by toys is something that some parts of that still remain. I remember to wear a shirt today. But other parts of it, through music, I've managed to possibly move on from. I've managed to come out of my shyness. I've managed to lose some of those inhibitions, those feelings of not being good enough, of being the small child, and I found a way through. So, as a matter of interest, who here has always wanted to play an instrument? Yeah, that's more than enough. That's more than enough for me to make the point, which is one of those things where, through lack of time, feeling like it's too big a deal, it's too big a thing, people put it off. I put it off until quite late by comparison to a lot of people. Some of the reasons that I stopped was I was always going to be too shy to join a band. I tried. I wasn't much of a front man. I would prefer to be behind the drummer, essentially. I didn't really have a very good voice anyway, and ultimately it just wasn't for me. It was something that it felt like I should be having more fun than I really was. Another thing was the idea of being good at an instrument in the first place. You wait a long time before you dare to step on a stage or put yourself forward for anything, because you feel like instruments there's always someone that knows so much more. There's always so much theory, there's music, there's scores and everything like that you feel like you might need to have down somehow and kind of have it in mind before you're allowed to be a musician or to call yourself a musician. So basically today I'm going to take you through 4 of my illusions and maybe, hopefully, pass on some ideas that music isn't a big scary thing, and it can really, really help if you're a shy person like me. So let's just go through my 4 illusions. Firstly, it kind of looks like I can play a lot of instruments. It's something that, I managed to pull off fairly convincingly, although that's fake, and I'll show you how in a minute. I sound like a full band. Again, this is my reaction to not wanting to be in a band effectively, or to not feeling like I could be in a band. I chose to find a different path. I chose to find something that suited me, and I didn't really worry about what other people were doing. sometimes it sounds like my sense of rhythm is great. It's not. Hold that one in mind, because you might get a live demonstration of that in a second. And also, it looks like in general I know what I'm doing. I don't. So, firstly, my first illusion, my first demystification. Scales are hard, but it's okay to cheat. Now, we're very used to the guitar and the piano being two of the most dominant instruments in Western music, but there's so many instruments out there that are what are called diatonic instruments. They're instruments that are fixed to one scale with all of the wrong notes removed. Now, how cool is that? How brilliant is it that basically in a moment you're never going to sound that bad? Everything you play is going to more or less fit in. It lets you play. It lets you play the word play, as in to play an instrument. It is a literal thing. You can play with instruments, you can toy with them, you can toy with ideas, you can plink and plonk until 3 notes or so sound like something you know, and then just go off on that and see what the note next to it sounds like and so on. Now, in the modern world, that's become even easier with tablets and all this kind of thing, where basically you've got a surface that is transformable. It's not like someone who's had to chip out keys and make that into a static instrument. Suddenly the surface is malleable, so everything can be constrained to a scale. All those wrong moves are taken away. That really, really does help in lower the bar for entry. The strum stick, another beautiful, beautiful instrument. It's basically just 3 strings and you can't get it wrong. Everything sounds good. I got that and I fell in love with it because it's so easy. I can give it to people. I give it to my dad. My dad has never, ever played a note in his life. He strummed it. I said, put your finger somewhere. He said, I picked a good one. I was like, try a different one. He's like, yeah, that was good too. There you go. That's it. And all of those bars are removed. The next thing is, like I say, if you don't have a band, learn to loop. Now looping, I'm going to give you a little demonstration of here now. Just a very short one. But effectively, looping, sorry, I have to take my shoes off, so if the first row smells something, I do apologise. Odd socks, so we know which one's which. That's looping foot, that's non-looping foot. And I do have to move the ring over to the other side. Don't worry, it doesn't mean anything, honey. It always happens when I'm on stage, but honestly, the two things are not related. So basically, anything? Right. So basically, if I just create a small pattern, like, if I create one that's in tune. As a matter of interest, here we go, dots on here to show where to put fingers. That's the one. So this is a technique that I learned from a guy called Jez Riley French. I saw him one night on an open mic night just making crazy stuff with a little delay loop playing into it and letting it play over itself. And I thought, what a wonderful way to be a band, what a wonderful way to achieve ideas when you don't want to talk to other people necessarily. And that's what we did. That's basically what I spent a lot of the rest of my life doing, just creating little loops. Now, for the sake of expediency, I'm going to have to just cut that off there. But that's the idea of a lot of what I do. That's where I was for a lot of years. And then gradually, I basically realized that I needed more instruments. So this is when I moved over to MIDI, which is a wonderful way to have a load of instruments all connected together, all talking together. And it's a wonderful freeing, liberating thing because you have things like groove boxes that can keep you in time. You have little things that can correct your mistakes. Everything can be taken at its own value and reused, recycled. So basically what I'm going to do now is just take you through an idea of how I would create one of my improvisational performances. And the first key to that is to listen critically to everything out there and then improvise. Whatever kind of music you like, whatever you love, listen to it and listen to why you love it, because you can't play those notes. Those notes are owned by someone else. You can't write a Beatles song because someone else has done that. But if you study the structure, you'll find that the structure of music is one of the massive parts to it. It's the bit that gives it its power. It's the bit that drives it forward, tells you when you're happy, when you're sad, whether something's going to go whoosh and kick back in, whether it's going to go really small. I studied those structures and I found that often you could basically see little patterns emerging and you could use those to your advantage. So what I'm going to do now is basically just can you hear that? That's just your simple 4-bar beat. So that's me just kind of creating a little bit just to track in where we're at. So over that, we can put a little bit of a 2-bar melody. So that's our 2-bar melody there. And we can add a little bit more over the top of that. Now one of my improvisations would regularly have this kind of structure with all kinds of things, dropping in, dropping out, a few instruments at a time, this kind of thing, always moving. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just quickly run over here. That looks all right. And just do a little bit of an improv for you here today. That kind of thing. Thank you very much. Thank you. So what does that teach us? Basically, it teaches us, don't be afraid to take shortcuts, but have a map in your head of where you're going. And finally, always ask for instruments as presents. Thank you very much.